this idea of connection, would you say is it fairly common that instead of viewing depression as this kind of as a kind of maybe like a primary disorder, as the primary thing that's wrong with someone, do people tend to often find that perhaps there are traumas and things, and the depression is almost like a symptom that's secondary to emotional burdens they might be carrying, like past trauma? Trauma is a kind of mode of separation. I feel like if
Yes,
we have these
yes.
challenges, we close off from the world.
Yes.
And then depression
Yeah,
could maybe
yeah.
be understood as a pain that's associated with a state of deep
Yes.
separation as a result of traumatic
Yeah.
experiences, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, I suppose we become more fragmented, don't we? I suppose the trauma fragments different parts of ourselves, and I suppose that connection of those disparate parts of ourselves makes us more whole. And often, for me, if the trauma is unconscious, it's really hard to process and to deal with. And sometimes I think the psychedelics can go to those places because you can go to those depths and realize that there are parts of you that you have split off because they were too painful, and what it enables you to do is to go and access those parts, and in being with them, but this time feeling supported, like traditional therapy, you can start a process of healing. So I mean, to me, depression feels really, it's about having fragmented and disconnected parts of yourself, and so fostering connection and accepting yourself more, and recognizing, I suppose, that you're not inherently broken. So many of our participants come out realizing that they're not broken, and that's a huge revelation. And often through the experience of the psychedelics, they are able to have some space from the depression. They stop defining themselves in terms of the depression. They notice it's something that happens to them, and that they have some space to create a different relationship with it. And I think that space, rather than just say, I am my depression, I'm depressed, and defining yourself through your depression, it gives you that bit of space to say, okay, well, this is something that happens to me. What can I do? Or where can I create space in order to deal with it in a different way? And I think the psychedelic model or paradigm definitely creates a different way of processing, and gives you, if you have that sense of we're all interconnected, we're all, these mystical experiences, it's once you've felt that in a really embodied way, it's really hard to feel that I'm disconnected and alone in the world, because it doesn't compute anymore. So it's not that you can sustain that feeling of connection, but you have something to work towards, like, how do I foster deeper connection in my life, in my everyday life? How can I feel more connected to others?
I think that's a really striking link between the research that just kind of looks at the mystical experiences occasioned by psilocybin, and then the depression research, because, as you say, I think the mystical experience is one of a perspective in which only connection really exists. It's a kind of one of saying that this idea that I am separate is another perspective, but it's not necessarily as true as the one where there's only a kind of process of interconnection. I feel like I mean, that's why, I guess, discovering what could be understood as spiritual truths can be seen as kind of healing, I guess, right? If you're living in a mode where you're deeply feeling separated from the world, whether it's from trauma or anything else. And then you mentioned this fragmented aspect, which I feel like brings us back to the first part of the accept, connect, embody thing, the acceptance part. Would you say that someone with depression, are they kind of struggling more with struggling with themselves, like parts of themselves they don't want to accept, avoiding certain emotions, of kind of numbing, perhaps distracting, constantly shifting attention, rumination? Is that a way of understanding what's going on?
Yeah, I think you put it really well there. I have nothing to add.
Okay. So you go from this kind of experiential avoidance to an integrated acceptance, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.